Hi everybody and welcome to a brand new episode of Plaguenarr. And as you have decided, my first vehicle painting guide will be a Iron Warriors Contemptor Dreadnought. And for this Iron Warriors guide I also decided to make a full brush painting guide, and this is why I started to mix up a 50-50 mix of Pro Acryl Dark, Silver and Vallejo Airbrush Thinner we can use as a base coat. Because of the big surfaces, I'm using a Artis Opus Series D extra large brush here and stipple this on all over the Mini. On the areas that are more hard to reach, I'm switching down to a Artis Opus Series D size M brush. After the Mini has been fully base coated, I then mix up 1 part Pro Acryl Dark Silver and 1 part Pro Acryl Silver, and using my Artis Opus Series D extra large brush to dry brush the whole Mini in circular motions. For the areas that are a little bit harder to reach, I'm switching back to my Artis Opus Series D size M brush. As a final highlight for the base color, I'm then using pure Pro Acryl Silver, and instead of using circular motions, I'm now using strokes from above by dry brushing this on with our Artis Opus Series D extra large brush. And just a little explanation here, circular motions will create volumetric highlights on all surfaces, while strokes from above will only highlight upper raised areas and edges. And for the areas hard to reach, I'm switching back again to the Series D size M brush. For base coating the black and hazard stripe areas, I'm then mixing up 2 parts water with 1 part Abaddon black and base coating all these areas with 2 to 3 coats. And as you can see, I'm using here a fairly big brush, and this is one of my secrets how I can paint vehicles efficient and in a fair amount of time by simply switching the size of the brush. This is the Artis Opus Series S size 4 brush. One way to create hazard stripes can be to use masking tape. And that's a fair and easy approach for beginners who still lack of brush control and precision. And on the other hand, it's also a fairly approach for people who just want to get this stuff done with a high precision result. And for the coloring, we're using Uriel Yellow mixed down with 1 part water to 1 part paint and covering these areas with 3 to 4 coats. Then I wait until all coats are fully dry and remove the masking tape with a tweezer. Another approach can be to simply use the base color and create freehand hazard stripes, which will definitely improve your brush control and gives you some practice in precision. And to get off the pressure here, I always remember myself that I can switch back to Abaddon Black and fix the shape and size to get even looking hazard stripes. And a third option can be to switch back to masking tape. Again, use Ural Yellow mixed down with 1 part color to 1 part airbrush thinner and simply airbrushing on the color and masking the areas that should appear black. Every method has its pros and cons. For example, the airbrushing method only covers in 2 coats, even on black areas. The con might be that you have to prepare and clean your airbrush and deal with things like masking putty to protect already painted surfaces. And I just wanted to show you 3 different approaches here. Enjoy painting and move on. In this stage, I'm now starting to create volumetric highlights on all the black and hazard stripe areas. For this, I'm mixing down 1 part Flash Gits Yellow with 1 part water and highlight all the raised areas of the hazard stripes. In the next step, I'm then using Vallejo Basalt Grey mixed down with 2 parts water to 1 part paint and highlighting all the black areas with edge highlights and scratchy volumetric highlights to create a rough, used look. And I'm not worrying too much about smooth transitions and smoothness here. I really want to create rough patterns, and I will create smoother transitions by a glaze of Abaddon Black in a later stage. And as a second highlight, I'm then using Vallejo Neutral Grey mixed down with 2 parts water to 1 part paint and creating smaller versions of the highlights I've created in the step before by using the same patterns and the same technique. As a final highlight, I'm then using Vallejo Pale Grey Blue mixed down with 1 part water to 1 part paint and simply just creating sharp edge highlights on the light-faced edges. To enhance the used look, a little bit more, I also add a couple of scratches and marks with the same highlight color. For smoothing out the transitions, I'm then mixing down Abaddon Black with 3 parts water to 1 part paint, loading up my brush, wipe the excessing paint off on a kitchen towel and create shades in the same pattern as I did in the highlight stages before. With 1 part Pro Acryl Rich Gold and 1 part airbrush thinner, I'm then creating a base coat mix and base coating all the bullets on the base and the weapon casing. With pure Pro Acryl Silver and a small brush, I'm then quickly highlighting all the bolts on the Mini. To soften the decals and prepare the surfaces, I then overcoat all the surfaces with a full coat of Microsol, apply the decal, and overcoat the decal again with a full coat of Microsol. To compensate gaps between the surfaces and decals, I then overcoat all surfaces where I applied decals with a full coat of Vallejo Premium Gloss Varnish. As long as the gloss varnish is drying, I'm then using pure nylon oil and shade all the mechanical parts to give them a little bit more of a oilish look. If the gloss varnish and nylon oil has been fully dried, we're mixing up 2 parts dark oath flash with 1 part contrast medium and 1 part water. And the 2 secrets of me to get this even done on vehicles with a super clean finish is that I simply use a real big brush. This is a Artis Opus Series S size 4 brush, so a real big brush, and I always do it panel by panel. This, by the way, also works on tanks, and I will definitely show you this in a future video. For a little bit more of detail and definition, I then apply some sponge chipping over all armor panels with pure Abaddon Black. I also add a couple of tiny scratches with pure Abaddon Black. And to support this effect even a little bit more, I'm using pure Pro Acryl Silver and doing the same as I did in the steps before. To add a little bit more of definition on all the sharp edges on the armor, I use a real flat brush with pure Pro Acryl Silver and highlight the edges with strokes into the direction of the edges I want to highlight. To give this even a little bit more of a weathered look, I'm then using pure Dark Elf Flash and adding a couple of pools and streaks on the areas where water would mostly collect. To add some glowing eyes, I'm then base coating the entry islands with pure Mephiston Red. The zoom lens and the laser pointer will be base coated with Mephiston Red as well. With Evil Sun Scarlet, I'm then starting to paint the inner side of the islands with a center focused highlight by starting from the left side, then turning the mini around and starting from the right side. This highlight should fill out 80% of the islands. Same goes for the zoom lens and the laser pointer, and then I'm adding a small edge highlight on the lower corner of the eye to start create a glowing effect. This highlight will be added on the upper edge as well. To intensify the effect, I'm then using Wild Rider Red and creating again center focused highlights in the same pattern as I did in the step before. The only thing I change is that the highlight size will be a little bit smaller, just to create a smooth transition between our previous highlight stages. For the edge highlights, I'm simply reducing the size to match the size of the highlight I have created inside the lens. The same goes for the Fire Dragon Bright highlights. I'm using the same patterns, center focused highlights, reducing the size, and on the edges I try to match the size of the highlight I have created inside the lens. To push the glowing effect a little bit more, I'm then using pure Flash Gets Yellow and adding a tiny dot in the center of every island and on the lower corner of the edge highlight. With a full coat of Vallejo Premium Satin Varnish, I then remove remaining glossy spots and bring all colors together. And so many people asked for the basing in my first Iron Warriors video that I decided to base this mini in the same style. And in the first step, it's really simple. I simply just flood the whole base with Vallejo pigment FX. And as the second and last step, I then simply flooding the whole base by stippling on natural sienna pigments of Vallejo. And the key point how I get these bases looking so dusty in the end is that I let all the pigments dry and blow the remainings off with an air can. After I have blown off the remainings, I then use a moistured kitchen towel and wipe off the remainings from the trim of the base. And then I use Abaddon Black mixed down with 1 part water to 1 part paint to finish up the trim of the base. And then it's time to take a look into our final result. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I hope you had some fun and I hope to see you soon.